The tonal is everything we know. I think this in itself is enough reason for the tonal to be such an overpowering affair. Sorcerers know that only by boosting the tonal can the nagual emerge. That boosting is called personal power. We live in a world of paradox. Our knowledge is growing, but this doesn't lead to a reduction in life's problems. Why is this? Because no amount of knowledge will help us change if we lack sufficient personal power. Don Juan, Castaneda's spiritual teacher, said that the cause of a lack of personal power is a weak tonal. Now we'll explain what the tonal is and introduce 3 key practices for strengthening it and accumulating personal power. Carlos Castaneda, through his 13 years of teaching the secrets of magic through his books, revealed a great secret of nature. Man is a magical dual being, possessing an energy body alongside the physical. Like a bird that must spread its 2 wings to fly, man must constantly develop its 2 bodies, and with them, the 2 parts of its being, the tonal and the nagual, to unlock its inner potential. According to Castaneda, the tonal is the known world, which we perceive with our intellect and emotions. Through the tonal, we understand the external world around us, strengthen our bodies, and shape our personalities. The nagual is the world of the unknown, beyond the limits of ordinary human perception. It is the world of intuition, feelings, strength, will, and creativity. The nagual opens the doors to the inner world through the awakening of our energy body. At birth, each of us has a developed nagual, a connection to which we are directly aware. Then, over time, through upbringing and socialization, we develop a tonal, which helps us navigate the world around us. The tragedy is that over time, the tonal, rather than being a guardian of intelligent life, turns into a warden, denying everything we cannot see or explain with the life experiences we have already accumulated. One such area of life incomprehensible to the tonal is the nagual. Therefore, gradually the nagual becomes a seemingly unnecessary part of our lives, without which we learn to communicate with the world and we cease to consciously interact with the other part of our being. This is precisely why we lose harmony and integrity within ourselves and fail to see it in the reality around us. But the fact is that to unlock our magical potential and connect with our higher self, we need to restore our duality and bring the tonal and nagual into union. By ignoring the nagual, we weaken the tonal and create within ourselves an egotistical personality, which, instead of understanding the world and ourselves in the world, begins to exploit our energy and power. Such a personality has many problems in life. The truth is that an egotist's tonal doesn't become weak because of problems in their life. They arise precisely because their tonal becomes weak. This means that by strengthening the tonal and preparing it for interaction with the nagual, we reveal our duality, return to harmony in life, and free ourselves from problems. The process of strengthening the tonal is called accumulating personal power. Personal power is the resource a person needs to live a healthy and fulfilling life in every sense and find their purpose. And so we come to one of the main magical secrets imparted by Don Juan to Castaneda. Our tonal weakens not because we lack something in life. Rather, it's because we've acquired something superfluous and unnecessary, something that harms us and needs to be discarded. When we waste energy and strength on the superfluous and the false, we lack the resources to become our true selves. To understand this, imagine a driver driving on the highway. The driver is the tonal. The highway in this example represents a busy life with numerous intersections and constant rush. To drive on the highway without accidents, the driver must fully concentrate on the road. But instead, they distract themselves by talking on the phone, opening chips, and taking a sip of soda. All of these are dangerous actions that distract from driving and divert the driver's attention. Thus, they risk crashing the car and getting themselves killed in it. This is how a weak tonal gradually destroys our lives. Tonal energy is expended not only on maintaining the physical body, but also on personal development. Without a balanced character and by indulging in selfishness, a person constantly loses enormous amounts of energy. A sense of self-importance, self-pity, aggression, a desire to please, or to create hostility. All these are character traits that do nothing to bring a person closer to well-being. Therefore, they are unnecessary and should be eliminated. In fact, these character traits are very costly and sooner or later lead anyone to energy exhaustion and weakness. We now invite you to undertake a short practice to identify the dominant and energy-consuming quality of your character. To do this, recall what you experience in moments of stress or confusion. It could be anger, irritation, rage, aggression, or even self-pity. To take the first step towards strengthening the tonal, you must rid yourself of the harmful emotion. But the difficulty lies in the fact that we have spent many years and a colossal amount of energy to ensure that this emotion becomes dominant in our personality, dominating all other character traits. Therefore, there is no way to completely stop reacting habitually in situations that irritate us. But we can deeply reassess ourselves and stop succumbing to formulaic reactions and feeding our primary negative emotion with our energy. To understand this, imagine a theater with a director. He sits in the auditorium and watches the stage as a theatrical performance unfolds. The stage sets change and different actors perform against the backdrop. And suddenly, just as the necessary sets are set, the lead actor steps out to play his part according to a pre-rehearsed script. He performs poorly and out of tune and always lets the director down. The director in this example is you. The theater is an image of the tonal. The stage represents your life. The sets represent your habits and character tendencies. And the lead actor is the emotion that emerges during times of stress or confusion. It's impossible to kick the actor off the stage because he is part of the overall performance, part of your tonal. But you have the power to change the script, replace the sets on stage, and along with them, the lead actor in the play, so that the performance goes off without a hitch and with minimal expenditure of resources. All this means that our personality has certain tendencies to which we have become accustomed. It is these tendencies that, in moments of stress or confusion, activate a dominant destructive emotion within us, which drains almost all of our energy reserves. How can we get rid of this emotion? The secret is to change these tendencies in our personality to replace the familiar scenery on the stage of our life. Then, the habit of anger, aggression, or self-pity will disappear along with them. The emotion will remain on stage, but somewhere in the shadows in the background, and you can bring the character trait you desire to the forefront, under the spotlight, allowing you to accumulate energy and personal strength even in moments of uncertainty and irritation. It is this quality that we must rely on in everyday life. This process is called tonal reorganization. Thus, we cannot change the tonal or remove anything from it because it is an integral part of our dual nature. But we can reorganize the tonal, bring it into order, and make it strong by changing its facade. But here's the question: how can I change the facade of the tonal? In his books, Castaneda reveals the secret that the most powerful and habitual props on the stage of our lives are a sense of self-importance, an irresponsible attitude toward life, and a sense of imaginary immortality. For example, to experience anger in moments of stress or confusion, you must be very important to yourself, irresponsible or immortal. That is, living with an illusory sense of immortality. Therefore, to reorganize the tonal, you must rid yourself of self-importance, accept responsibility for your own life, and use death as a guide. These three practices can be performed independently by anyone. Therefore, anyone can change the facade of their tonal and relegate to its depths those emotions and qualities that destroy life and drain energy. Friends, any theory must be supported by practice. Knowledge should be applied in everyday life and contribute to its qualitative improvement. To do this, we created a community on Boosty, which is a workspace that motivates you to improve your life, understand your own essence, and unlock your inner potential. In the community, you will find, among other things, special posts for subscribers, videos with scripts and podcasts published in early access, practices for developing perception and qualitative improvement of life, the opportunity to join the Three Suns private community, where you can communicate personally with the creators of the project and find like-minded people. Friends, support our project and join the Three Suns community on Boosty. Let's examine each of the three tonal settings discussed in more detail. Let's begin with self-importance. Self-importance is an overdeveloped ego, a sense of being the most important and irreplaceable in the entire world. There's no doubt that every person is a world and everyone should be the center of their own world. But at the same time, no one should become the center of the entire universe. Self-importance is the most energy-consuming feeling, weakening the tonal and wasting personal power. To overcome this feeling, it's necessary to develop 4 key techniques: control, discipline, endurance, and a sense of timing. Control is the ability to temper our spirit, especially in those moments when we are most challenged. Spirit is the source of our strength. When we tune into this source, we learn to interact with strength and overcome life's challenges with courage. Discipline is the ability to steadfastly endure the hardships of fate. Discipline allows us to learn in any circumstances and see new opportunities. When we learn, we see the world more deeply and broadly and stop complaining about fate. Therefore, we begin to understand and see how, where, and when to use personal power. Endurance is the ability to believe in the best and know that justice will always prevail in any circumstances. Endurance allows us to resist habitual reactions, especially in the most difficult moments of life. Through faith in the best and in justice, we learn to act correctly and understand that everyone living on earth will eventually receive what they deserve. Endurance frees us from the urge to complain through a deep understanding of the causes of events and an awareness of the future consequences. Without self-pity, self-importance is destroyed. Timing is the ability to know precisely when to act and when to wait. It's the ability to sense the precise moment to do our best or to refrain from fussing. Freeing yourself from self-importance will make you a strategist who plans and knows how to effectively use available resources. Without self-importance, the life we dream of begins, because through the proper use of our strength and energy, we achieve our goals. Knowing how to properly use personal power presupposes our belief that personal power exists, that it can be accumulated, and that it can be controlled. It is this power that we use to shape our lives. The accumulation of personal power occurs according to unspoken, invisible laws. So, a responsible approach to life is a deep understanding and clear recognition that our lives must flow in accordance with these laws. When we learn to live by observing the energetic laws of nature, we learn to accept responsibility for our lives. With responsibility, power returns to us. One of the immutable and eternal laws of the universe states that we cannot sow thistles in our souls and expect roses to spring up. This means, for example, that if we are angry at people and complain about the world, we live in a miserable world. And in this case, we cannot expect people and the world to treat us any better than we treat them. We always find ourselves in situations to which our choices have led us. Causes produce effects. That is why, under any circumstances, we should not habitually blame ourselves, others, or the world at large. Realize that nature cannot be unfair. With due diligence and the right choices, you will achieve what you strive for. Only when you accept full responsibility will you have the power to overcome the current situation. Accepting responsibility for your life means understanding that personal power will lead us where we invest it. Taking responsibility for our lives challenges us to use death as an advisor. In Castaneda's world, death is a specific kind of energy that allows a person to focus on what is essential and not be distracted by the secondary and unnecessary in any situation. When we understand that the energy of death is present in our lives, that it can stop life at any moment, we will stop wasting personal power on inflated self-importance or self-pity. We will focus on what will help us make the right choice. Thanks to the energy of death, we can act with the feeling that this is our last battle on this earth. Only then are we able to act in the best possible way without losing ourselves in the void. Thus, the energy of death becomes our best advisor, teaching us to focus on what is most necessary in the moment and protecting us from the manipulations of predators and mundane thinking. By using the energy of death as an advisor, you can free yourself from the influence of weak character traits and reorganize your tonal, engaging your energy and personal power in the development of correct and noble inclinations. The tonal reorganization technique requires a sincere desire to change yourself and your life. This desire can be transformed into intention. Intention is a connection with the spirit. When we are in the spirit, we are strong. Tonal reorganization requires that you use all three described techniques simultaneously. This approach to your life alone will help you focus your efforts on accumulating personal power and restoring free energy. Personal power will lead you to real changes in your everyday reality. You will become who you are, begin to live the life you've dreamed of, free from the tyranny of the predator and mundane thinking. You will free yourself from self-importance, recklessness, and irresponsibility and recognize death as your best advisor in life. The path of tonal reorganization and the accumulation of personal power is a path with a heart. When we gain sufficient personal power in life, we begin to understand and see that problems arise not by themselves, but because of a weak tonal. By strengthening our tonal, we resolve all life's issues holistically. Challenges arise along our path, and by overcoming them, we kindle the fire of the Spirit in our hearts. Inspired by the harmony of the eternal, we soar to the stars with respect and gratitude for earthly life. From now on, we hear their caring whispers telling us tales of power,